Following is an adaptation of a prayer for Israel written by Professor Reuven Kimmelman. Eloheinu v'Elohavoteinu, our God and God of our ancestors, we are one nation with one heart. And today, that heart is broken. With so many of our sisters and brothers in Israel killed, wounded, and kidnapped, we turn to you. Harafeh lishvurei lev, O healer of broken hearts, binder of their wounds, be with our brothers and sisters who have been taken captive, and with the families of the victims. Watch over the hostages, break their bonds, and bring them out safely from darkness to light. Bring complete healing of body and spirit to all of the wounded. Bind up our wounds and grant us healing. Bring healing to all who are suffering. Be consolation to all who mourn. Protect the children, O God, be they Israeli or Palestinian. May they lead their peoples to blessing. Sur Yisrael v'goalo, rock and redeemer of the people Israel, bless the state of Israel. Shield it with your care, spread over it your shelter of peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and with your truth. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Crown their efforts with victory. Bless the land with peace, its inhabitants with everlasting joy. May we see the promise of the psalmist. Hafachta mispedi lemacholi, pitachta saki, vatazreni simcha. You turned my mourning into dancing, my sackcloth into robes of joy. Our Sedra is Toldot, Genesis 25:19 and following. Somewhere in a class, I don't know, about Greek mythology, I learned about chimera, a monstrous, fire-breathing hybrid creature made up of 3 different animals. Part lion, part snake, part goat. Actually, I thought I was learning about chimera or something like that, because that's how it's spelled, but chimera it is. In one of my advanced psychology courses, chimera popped up again, and in that setting it was no less strange. Without going into the biology of it all, simply put, a chimera can occur when a twin pregnancy evolves into a single child. Sometimes the status is hinted at when a child has eyes of different colors, or maybe 2 sets of DNA, or maybe hair growth on one side of the body is not symmetrical with hair growth on the other side of the body. In most cases, chimeras will go through life never knowing their status, and that is just fine. Rebecca, wife of Isaac, is pregnant. She's carrying twins, and that circumstance led to a terribly uncomfortable pregnancy. The twins seemed to be constantly pushing at each other. They were fighting within the womb. Rebecca despaired. She sought understanding from God, maybe through an oracle. This is what she learned. 2 peoples are in your belly. 2 nations will branch off from each other as they emerge from your womb. Thus were Esau and Jacob ushered into the world. We know the rest of this very familiar story. Esau sells his birthright to Jacob. Jacob deceives Isaac and steals the blessing intended for Esau. Jacob then flees for his life, and the tales of our matriarchs and patriarchs continue. Rabbi Carey Tooling asks us to look at this story quite differently. It's interesting. What if the twins are actually 2 facets of the same personality, rather than the archetypes of 2 radically different people? What if Esau is not intended to be the epitome of evil, and Jacob is not intended to be the epitome of the upright and the moral? After all, Esau was very caring about their father Isaac. When Esau returned from the hunt, Isaac ate very well, and Jacob, he was no paragon of virtue, even though the rabbis later on pictured Jacob as a yeshiva bocher, hunched over sacred texts. He cheated Esau out of the birthright. He cheated Esau out of their father's blessing. And then later on, his own father-in-law cheated Jacob into marrying both Rachel and Leah. Tooling, with an excellent grasp of the ways of Midrash, asks, what if the deeper truth in our Sedra is that we are being asked to consider that there is a possibility that there is a piece of Esau and a piece of Jacob in each and every one of us? Jacob was much more than a pious yeshiva bocher, and Esau was much more than just a cruel hunter and a man of violence. What if what Jacob disliked about Esau was really the awareness that he carried within himself the shadow of Esau? What if what Esau disliked about Jacob was really the awareness that he carried within himself the shadow of Jacob? What if what our text is suggesting is that each of us is a moral chimera? The Torah in Genesis seems to say that each of us carries within our personalities a yetzer hara, evil inclination. We know that. And the dominance of that yetzer is what drives us to turn away from what we believe God expects of us. The rabbis later on came to reject that biblical model and reconfigured it to contain a yetzer tov, a good inclination as well. A yetzer tov in constant combat with the yetzer hara. Almost 2,000 years later, Freud would come up with a taxonomy of the human personality. Remember that? Id, ego, superego. The outcome of that struggle, Freud said, determines who we are. What if each of us carries a shadow within us of what we reject, of what we fear, of what we might even abhor, but which will simply not disappear? That shadow is a permanent part of who we are. It is the other that lurks behind the bathroom mirror, demanding our attention. What if what we are being asked to consider here is that a fundamental part of whatever it means to be human is the inescapable demand to struggle daily between the warring facets of our own complex personalities? What if there is a suggestion that beneath the quiet, often placid waters of who we apparently are, strong currents exist that relentlessly push us in one direction or another? What if, like Jacob and Esau in the womb of Rebekah, we spend our days pushing and shoving against our shadow selves? This is all Midrash, of course. It isn't science. It isn't genetics. It isn't even directly Torah. Would you nevertheless be willing to consider this as somehow true? Fascinating. Next time you look at a mirror, see what's behind it. Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Pray for the Israel Defense Forces. Pray for the possibility that our tomorrows might yet be better. see you next week.